Hey, what's going on, everyone? If you guys are enjoying the Everyday Stranger podcast and are wondering, how can I support the podcast a little bit more? Well, there's three ways. Number one, you can go to the Everyday Strangers website at www.everydaystrangers.net. Scroll to the bottom of the screen, click the Patreon tab, and there you can make any contribution you like. Number two, you can click on the store tab of the Everyday Strangers website. And there you can find all kinds of available merchandise such as t-shirts, mugs, books, and more. And the last way that you can support the podcast is by simply going to Apple Podcasts, hitting the rate tab, leave a review, give me a 5 stars or whatever it may be. And this will also help the podcast grow as well. The more people who participate in this, it'll definitely help more people see it. So these are the three ways that you can support the Everyday Stranger podcast. Remember, the website is www.everydaystrangers.net. Hello. You are now listening to the Everyday Stranger podcast, and I'm your host, Alonzo Williams Jr. Today is Wednesday, which means that's right. We are kicking off another episode of the IG Stranger of the Week, where I interview a random stranger from my IG feed. Today's guest is Ron Stevens. IG name, Shed Light Visuals. So the first picture I see on his feed is a shot from Cape Verde, Africa, y'all. Oh man, we about to have a good conversation. Let's jump right into it. Hey man, we're gonna jump right into it, man. I was going through our conversation on Instagram, and you got me really curious, bro. So we're gonna jump right into it, man. As I always ask my guests before we get to the conversation, what's life's greatest lesson been for you?
Yeah, man, that's a deep question.
Yeah.
But I would say right now is life's greatest lesson for me is just to be humble and be extremely appreciative about what you have and who you have around you and in your life. That's a lesson that I've learned recently, especially after being able to travel over to Africa earlier this year. And I would say the other biggest lesson that life has taught me is that you can't just let life happen to you. You got to go out and happen to life, kind of.
Yeah.
So it's like, at the end of the day, you're in control, so if things aren't going well, then most likely a large part of that is probably your fault. And if things are going great, then great job, but it's key to have a perspective that you're in control of all of that.
Yo, I like that, bro. I'm always curious to who was Ron prior to learning that lesson. Like, I'm assuming that, things were kind of like the opposite, or you were kind of in the learning process of getting to this point in life where, these lessons occurred. Like, so who was Ron prior to learning these lessons?
That's a good question, man. I think, one of the things that, this is going to sound a little weird, but that saying that, you shouldn't complain because, somebody has it worse than you.
Man, yeah.
If I'm being honest, there was a point in time when I didn't necessarily believe that.
Huh.
Because I would say well, other people may have things worse than me, but that still doesn't make what I'm going through any less, hard.
Right. Yeah.
What I'm going through, my problems are still hard.
Yeah.
But so it really took, kind of learning that lesson and experiencing some other cultures and, really digging into, the way that certain other people are living and putting things into perspective, it really helped me grow into who I am now. And I think in terms of just being in control, I have, a family, some family members that, I have an older brother, I have an older sister, and let's just say that they're not necessarily in the best places in life, but we were raised very similarly. And so I would always get asked the question of, like, hey, like, how come you ended up where you are and they're where they are? Like what was the difference? And for the longest time, I never could really answer that question, other than the fact that, well, they came before me, and even when I didn't know what to do, I knew what not to do just from looking at, some of the things they did, but finally, like, realizing that, look, my grandfather's a big inspiration in my life, and he came from, a very tough background. He was born in 1933, so he dealt with things that were, way more difficult than anything I'm ever going to face.
No.
And he was able to get in control of his life and really show me, not just tell me, but he was able to show me, how successful you can be if you just have ambition, stay motivated, and just go after what you want.
Yo, I like that, bro. Dang. Yo, that's what's up, man. Yo, so, I mean, where do we go from here? You know what I mean? Yo, well, okay, well, well, speaking of, like, ambition, right? And, I was really intrigued by what you was telling me about on Instagram, about how, you kind of develop a new perspective on life after your trip to Africa.
Right.
Yo, you care to give more details on that, man? Because, hey, look, man, when people tell me that, like, it's like I automatically identify with that energy, because I still remember my first trip to Africa, and I haven't been the same since. So, you want to talk about how the kind of effect that it had on you?
Yeah, absolutely. So where I went, first of all, my wife is from Africa. She's from the islands of Cape Verde.
Okay.
So that's where my trip to Africa was. And her family is from the island of Praia out there.
Okay.
And so it was her first time going over there. Me and our family, kind of went out in a group. It was more than 10 of us. We flew over and went out there. But something that was really eye-opening to me was, I saw some people in some of the worst conditions, like really bad conditions, no running water, no electricity, no roof, no stove, like no beds, it was, animals running in the street. It was bad, and there was still smiles on people's faces. It was still, like love in their hearts. You could feel it. They had this spirit about them that was just like, they're going to be okay. Right. Regardless of whatever their environment was. And that just made me change my perspective on what is success. Right? It changed my perspective on what is success. And success is now for me less about acquiring a certain thing or being in a certain place in my life. For me, if I can achieve happiness and do what I love to do, then that's success. So it really just changed my mindset of what my motivations were, and like getting from point A to point B. It kind of changed like what my point B was. I had a different perspective of what point B was.
Wow.
But now, point A to point B is simply from, being where I am now and becoming more happy and more happy.
I like that, man. Yo, that's crazy. Yo, it's kind of identical, man, because I feel like I'm listening to myself speak from my first trip to Africa. Hey, yo, you know what's even more crazy about this is that you said your wife is from Cape Verde?
Yeah, that's right.
Yo, so she speak Portuguese?
Yeah, she speaks 4 languages.
Oh, man,
yeah, she speaks English, Spanish, Portuguese, and the Cape Verdean Creole over there.
Crazy, man. Cause I went to Angola. That was my first country that I had went to in Africa, And, you know, that's prior to that, I had learned a little bit of Portuguese before I got there. And,
Okay.
but like just studying like the Portuguese spoken in Africa, like I ran across two countries. One was Angola and then the other one was, Cape Verde. And that's how I was really like even more intrigued because I was like, oh man, this is going to be really interesting. Did you pick up on any other language while you were out there, or like how was the experience with that as far as communicating?
I mean, well, you know, shout out to my wife Christina because she's, you know, I've been with her. We've been married for 5 years.
Word.
We've been together 9 years, 9 years. Yeah, 9 years now.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, she's been teaching me, you know, along the way. You know, so I know the basics. The basics. So, you know, if you're having a conversation in front of me in Creole, you know, I probably can understand 30-40% of it.
Yeah.
But I'm not fluent that I could like hold a conversation, but you know, I know how to say, you know, how are you doing? I know how to say, you know, I'm doing good. I know how to say, you know, I'm going to the bathroom, I'm hungry, that type of stuff.
Okay. The basics, that's
you know,
pretty.
So I can get around if I needed to. I could get around.
That's a good thing, bro. Because a lot of people. I mean, from my experience traveling, I do find like people who are like they don't know not one bit of the language, and at the same time they're just looking for people who only speak their native tongue, and they come out very unsuccessful in that trip, man, and frustrated at the same time. And I always encourage people to learn something. You know what I mean? You don't have to be like a scholar in the language, but you know, always put like some kind of effort to learn like the survival phrases at least. You know, so people can at least see like, okay, well, he's not just here, you know, looking to get served. He's also here because he wants to, you know, learn more about the culture and this and that. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, man. And I've been watching, you know, I've been listening to your podcast and watching some of your videos and stuff. Yeah. You know, so I can see, you know, that, you know, you're fluent, you're getting fluent in Spanish and learning Italian and all that stuff. You know, and learning from what they say, I don't know, but from what they say, you know, learning the language later in life is much more difficult.
Yeah,
you know, so I commend you. I respect it.
I appreciate it.
I definitely respect it.
Initially, bro, that's what I was telling myself. I was like, man, I'm 30. I think when I started actually learning a language other than the one that I'm fluent in, first thing I said is like, man, like I'm 30. I think I was 31 or something when I first started. But you know what I'm saying, bro? The why. I always tell people like the why is the most important thing in your life. Like it's the only thing that'll help you get to like wherever it is that you want to be. So, you know, The reason why I didn't even try to learn a language was because, you know, hey, I didn't have a reason to learn it. But when I was like, yo, I want to travel the country and I want to meet people and learn about their culture and this and that, I was like, hey, I really wanted to do that. So, I mean, that fire in you, man, like, and then I discovered people that were like 70 years old, like learning Arabic, because they wanted to go on some kind of passion project. And so I think it's just like that why and that passion and that fire that's in you where age is no longer a factor, you know, and you just kind of defeat all odds and everything, you know. And
I definitely feel you there.
Yeah, bro. So, so you're a photographer, correct?
Yeah, well, yes.
Okay.
You know, so let's just say this. So I'm, you know, my formal day job, I'm a software product owner.
Okay.
So by day, and I would say, you know, by night, let's call it a newly found creative, and that creative channel is photography at this point. You know, so, you know, if anyone out there wants to check out the work, I'm on Instagram at Shedlight Visuals.
For sure.
But I kind of ran into photography by accident. It kind of found me versus me like finding photography.
Oh, let's talk about that.
Yeah. It was it's my wife's fault. I blame her. I blame her. So you know, my wife is she's extremely passionate about food. And, I think if anything, if she could wake up and do anything for the rest of her life, it would be working with food, being a chef, and she's always had this dream of having a restaurant and naming it De Silva Spoon. And so because her name is Christina De Silva. And she's also on Instagram at De Silva Spoon. Okay. So, I told her one day, I said, you really want to, do something with this food thing. Let's see what we can do. So I decided, for Christmas one year to buy her the DeSilvaSpoon.com domain name. And I just said, hey, if you want to do something with this, you have the domain name, it's paid for, eventually, when you want to jump into it, we can do that. Right. And, just like everyone else, they cook food and they take pictures of their food, they post it up. And I said, well, look, if we want to do a website, we got to get some professional pictures. We got to do it right.
Right.
I can't just keep taking pictures with my Galaxy. So yeah. I was like, I got an idea. I'll go get a camera. I'll start taking photos. I'll start doing professional photos. I didn't know anything about photography, mind you.
Right.
I was like, I'll start taking professional photos of your food. We'll put up on the website. We could do a blog. You could do critics. You could do recipes, whatever you want to do. I had all these ideas. And then when I started taking pictures of her food, and then I started learning more and more about photography, just like basics, aperture, shutter speed, ISO, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. I started to really fall in love with it and the art form, and then started following street photographers and fashion photographers, and I just fell in love with it. So now I'm at a point where, man, if I had found photography earlier in my life, I probably wouldn't even went to college. I probably would have just did photography straight out of high school.
Wow.
So that's kind of where I'm at now. So photography is my passion. It's something I love doing. I love having a camera in my hand. I particularly love street photography, people, that type of stuff. Yeah. Kind of that human connection. So that's kind of what is driving me right now.
Yeah, I like that, man. That leads me to a question I'm always curious about. Since the podcast is predominantly based on human connection and encounters with strangers and everything like that.
Yeah.
Through your journey as a photographer, have you ran into any experiences with actual a specific person or people where you man, this moment really this was a great moment that I had with this particular person who I may just only see once. And then, at the same time, man, I love being a photographer, man. You get to meet people like this. Are there any people that really stand out, that pop up in your journey as a photographer?
As a photographer, in terms of just interactions with people, I would say not yet. But I will say that, I did a lot of kind of what you would call street photography when I was in Cape Verde.
Okay.
And one of the biggest, experiences that photography ran me into was while we were in Cape Verde, we went to a concentration camp there. That's sort of like a museum now, but that's where they used to house prisoners that were, fighting for the country and trying to gain their independence back from Portugal.
Yeah.
And, so Cape Verde, they didn't get their independence until 1975.
Yeah, that's around time Angola had got independence too, I believe.
Yeah. So going there and kind of taking pictures and just being there, you kind of just felt that you could still feel the energy of the people that were there almost. You could still feel the energy and just the vibe and the mood of what used to happen there.
Right.
Just seeing the communes and, seeing these open spaces, seeing their version of what the whole is and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So that was a huge eye-opening experience. But then I would say also just being able to be out in Africa taking candid street photos of the people there and getting their expressions and just feeling their demeanor, all of that was just like, I was like, man, I could do this every day. I would do this every day, easy.
Yeah, and see, that's how that's something that you really love, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When it comes to, because you say you have a corporate job as well.
Yeah.
It's sort of like the balance of the two, right? I mean, like, so how does it feel? Because me, bro, like, I get these urges, right? Where, like, I'm like, man, I just don't feel like going to work.
Yeah.
And a lot of time, yeah, bro. And a lot of time I act on those urges, man. And I'm be honest, man, I never regret it. Like, I'm never like, dang, man, I should have just, went to work, or I should have, did this or whatever. I act on those urges because it's like, I feel like, you never really know, like, how much time you have, on this planet, right? And,
right.
I always want to just take advantage of those opportunities where I'm, like, really feeling it. And, go out and just meet people, take pictures, man, hit the streets, this and that, do networking or whatever. How's it for you on your side, man? When it comes to, that the passion work balance, I guess you could call it,
Yeah, man, it's extremely frustrating, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because like I had mentioned earlier, at the end of the day, right, we're in control, right? I'm the creative director of this thing that I call life.
Yeah.
So anything that's happening right now, it's most likely my fault. And, like, if I'm upset about, like, not jumping off this cliff to go chase what I love and that I'm passionate about, it's because I haven't written that story yet. I just haven't done that. But I absolutely could. The problem or the conundrum that you run into is that, you have to really jump off that cliff and learn how to fly on the way down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's no guarantee that them wings is going to come out.
Yeah.
So you either going to hit that ground hard, or you're going to learn how to fly.
Facts.
So I think for me, that's the most difficult part, because, people have real situations, there's real bills, and, there's a real lifestyle that, you're just accustomed to, that you're used to.
Yeah.
So it's really a gut check for me. I think it's really a gut check to be like, all right, how much longer, do I want to do that? So I think for me at this point, I'm trying to be smart about it and not be impulsive about it. So I've heard some people say, you know what, Ron, like, you want to do this photography thing, just quit your job tomorrow and go be a photographer. No clients lined up, nothing. Just do it. You're going to have to figure it out. You'll get creative. You'll find it out because you have no choice.
Yeah.
Right? You hear some people say that, and you hear some people, and the approach I'm taking right now is, like, you're blessed. You're in a position where you have a good job. You can save money. You can do both. So get yourself, in a really, really good position in terms of savings. If things don't go well or things aren't going well right off the bat, you have a little bit of a cushion, and then that gives you a little bit of a buffer, but you still got to work a little bit till you get there, until you feel comfortable, because that stress that comes with being, let's call it an entrepreneur or being self-employed, is a totally different type of stress than having a job.
Yeah, definitely. It is. It really is it really is a whole new different kind of stress, man. But the stress is I don't know. I tell people, I compare it to calisthenics and bodybuilding. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's some kind of stress in both, but one is like you're really more active and you kind of, using it's a whole new different technique. You know what I'm saying? But either way, you still have to put that energy into it. You know what I mean? And I remember when I made that first step, but I'll be honest, it never was like that, acting off, my impulse. Like I wasn't like, I got to do it. I'm just going to do it. I don't care. I don't have a plan, but I'm going to figure it out later. Like I never did that. I don't know how it feels. I know some people have, and some people have come up with like, really great success stories, and others not so. They end up going back to that structured lifestyle because they just couldn't handle it.
Right.
But I will say this, and not to make, I don't want to talk too much about, because I want to, get to know more about you as a photographer and an individual. But when I had quit my job the first time,
the first time,
yeah, hey bro,
how many jobs?
I am a job quitter, bro. I'm telling you, like, and I think I'm a professional at this, man. And I don't like being like, bro, I don't like waking up and saying I have to do this, right? Out of like, I mean, don't get me wrong, you have to be responsible in a sense where, if you quit your job, it doesn't mean you just had a vacation now, No, it's work that has to get done.
If
so
anything, you got to work harder.
Yeah, the work has to be there. But when someone is saying that I have to do something, it doesn't, and I don't know, that could just be, me. It could be pride or whatever, but I can't accept that. I'm always up for helping and contributing and, getting paid for doing that. But if it's like, if it turns into like, instead of a partnership, when it goes from a partnership to a slave deal, then I have a problem. And I have no problem with leaving that situation, In the first case, my back was up against the wall, and I was married at the time.
Okay.
But the thing was that I saw something like, like forward, right? I saw some things like all these clients was hitting me up. I had a website developed. I had price plans. I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and I'd end up getting like 5 inquiries of weddings. A lot of people, it was graduation season, so a lot of people needed senior portraits. And I realized, like, man, I was looking at all of this, I'm doing the math. I said, if I can get all these deals, or at least 80% of them, I'm probably going to make more money doing this than I am, from this paycheck that I'm waiting for every 2 weeks, right? And so that's when I was like, hey, I got that last email that said, hey, I'm looking for someone to shoot a wedding. As soon as I saw that email, I said, yeah, man, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. So I put the 2 weeks, but I always left respectfully, right? I'm not over here trying to like say that, hey, what I'm doing, cause that's another thing, man. I think sometimes a lot of people, and because, I don't knock 9 to 5s, right? I can't, because, without them, honestly, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So I had to give credit where credit is. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I don't like leave and say, oh man, hey, I'm out of here, man. I don't need y'all no more, and then start kicking trash cans everywhere. Nah, I tell them the truth, man. I tell them respectfully. I leave respectfully, and and that way things go good. If anything did happen, then if anything does happen afterward, and say if I needed to go back, right?
Right.
A lot of times, in most cases, it's like, yeah, man, you could come back. So therefore, your pride doesn't make you look like a fool at the end, right? Like you,
because you don't know, what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I like that perspective. You could go back.
Yeah.
There's, you can, like being educated, and I'm lucky to was in a position to be educated, go to college, and I have my degree. I have 2 financial securities licenses. Yeah. Have a project management professional designation, a PMP.
Oh man.
So if I decide to go through photography, and let's just say it doesn't work out, I can always go back to a job, you would think.
Yeah.
And we're not here forever. Why not do what you love, and I think what you were saying about, you not liking people telling you what you have to do and all of that stuff,
Yeah.
I completely, or even like what you can do or what you can't do.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother ball game. you know, and it's something I learned from my grandfather. You know, like funny enough, you know, my grandfather is an artist, and he's very well renowned here in Philadelphia. He was the first black art director of the Free Library of Philadelphia here.
Oh, nice.
And you know, he came a very, very long way. But you know, I would go, oh, you know, my grandfather is an artist. You know, my older sister, she can draw, she can tattoo, she can cut hair.
Yeah.
You know, like I got some musicians in my family. But when it came to me, you know, I was like, I can't sing, I can't dance, I can't rap, I can't draw. You know, like the creativity, the creative bug just missed me.
Right.
You know, and until I picked up a camera. But I mentioned my grandfather to say, and kind of in context of this conversation of, you know, again, he was born in 1933.
Oh, wow.
You know, and when he was he always tells me now, he goes, you know, and everyone knows this, you know, you say, you know, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
And luckily for him, his entire life, he always knew what he wanted to do, which was be an artist. And he had to make tremendous sacrifices to do it. You know, I think he mentioned that, you know, his father at the time kind of threw him out the house when he told him he wanted to be an artist.
Wow.
Because back then during that time frame, that wasn't, you know, the most masculine thing you could be was a painter, you know, or an artist.
Yeah.
You know, so it was kind of looked down upon.
Yeah.
And when he was in school, you know, teacher ask him, hey, you know, what do you want to be when you grow up? He says, well, you know, I want to be an artist. And he told me, the teacher looked in his eyes and said, the only brush you're ever going to use is a broom.
Oh, wow. Now, see that right there? Yeah, those are fighting words.
You know, those are definitely fighting words. But this comes into the lesson of, you know, being in control of your own life, writing your own story, creating your own narrative.
Facts. Right?
And he took all of those things. I was like, you know what? All right, you're going to kick me out the house because I want to be an artist. You're telling me I can't make it. You're telling me I can't do it. I know this is what I want to do. I'm going to make it happen. He ends up going to the Air Force. He does a bunch of stuff there in the Air Force. He comes home. He goes to art school. He gets a job at the Free Library of Philadelphia, turns down a big advertising job in New York, comes back, stays on the track with the Philadelphia Free Library, becomes the art director.
Oh, man. That's what I'm talking about, yo.
So, like, just that I know that it's in me somewhere to make that jump, you know, but, you know, when you're looking at the cliff, that's one thing. When you at the edge of the cliff and you're looking over, that's a different ball game. Yeah, you know. So I'm just trying to find that urge. You know, I love cliff jumping. I love it. Now I got to do it in real life.
Yeah.
You know.
Hey, that's you know, that's a good thing. And you know, but you know what I've been also learning too, because I used to always look at it that way, like, yo, okay, I need to jump. But lately, and this is because we were speaking about the Africa trip, I learned when I went to Angola and came back to the States, what I learned was, like, I need to find ways to appreciate my current situation that I'm in, and then not just appreciate it, but then find a way to make the best out of it, right? So what I would find myself doing, like, you know, at a job or whatever is, yo, I want to learn Spanish. So what I would do is, you know, because a lot of people speak Spanish at the job, right? I would start speaking. I would practice with people Spanish, right? And then there you go. Now you have something that you love doing, and then you mix that in with, you know, the 9-to-5 thing, you know. So always finding an opportunity to learn, no matter where you're at, will also get you, like, that success that you're looking for. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of times, like, a lot of times people jobs, they do have these hidden opportunities. But you also have to, you know, create them and and you just got to create it. It's your space, like you said. You're the director of your life and everything, your own movie. And so what I did, I always just take advantage of those opportunities wherever they be, and that way I don't put too much pressure and I don't stress myself. Because man, it's nothing like being at a job and you just like, it's nothing worse than just like coming to work hating it. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. If someone feels like, go ahead.
The thing is, like, I don't really hate my job.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't love it.
I can feel it. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So just like it makes that makes it even harder, because it's like, like I actually am good at what I do and I don't hate it, and it provides me all the security. Like you said, I don't knock the 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Not everybody's built to be self-employed or entrepreneur. Some people are, built to follow somebody else's plan and be really good at that, and that's completely fine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I really like what you said about, appreciation and like appreciating the things that you, appreciating the things that you have.
Yeah.
It makes it, it makes it hard to complain. I think that's another, kind of nugget I got back from Cape Verde is that it makes it really, really hard to complain.
Yeah.
I can complain about my job all day.
Right.
But all I got to do is scroll down my Instagram page and take a look at one of those people in those photos and be like, man, they would kill to be over here in America going to my job, making the type of money I'm making, and loving it, loving every second of it, probably doing it way better than me.
Yeah, hey, real talk.
Yeah. So like, that's, being appreciative is key, to me, like kind of, being humble and understanding, like, the things that we complain about, you asked me about who I was before, like I would complain about all types of stuff.
Hell yeah.
Especially when I was a teenager, it's like, I didn't get my first pair of Timbs till I was like in 10th grade. I was complaining to my grandparents, like, why I don't got no Timbs? Like, what's going on? Like in college, I had no car. Like, why I don't got no car? I'm college, So it's just like, now it's like things I complain about, like, oh, my job, I got to do this, or I have to go do that, I have to do that. Mm-hmm. When I really step back and zoom out and put things in perspective, I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have what I have.
Yeah.
But I'm also a very big component, a very big fan of like wanting to be happy and getting to happiness, but also almost like not being content in a way.
Right.
I think I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Like, like you want to be happy, but you got to always have some type of motivation and drive behind you to get to where you want to go.
Yeah, definitely, man.
So.
Yeah. I mean, the happiness part is, another thing I learned, especially about happiness, right? Like, I've been aiming less for happiness and like more towards peace, right? To where, I can be in like a total chaotic situation, but learn to like hold, because it doesn't matter. Like if you like no one can be happy if they if they're in the middle of a tornado, right?
Right.
But a powerful person can maintain some kind of composure to where they're like, okay, I'm in a twister right now. If I can swing and scream, but really this is not going to it's not going to change the situation.
It's really not going to help.
Yeah. And because a person
really
who can't maintain peace, they'll probably die before the twister even tosses them on the other side of the country. You know what I'm saying? Like, because they'll probably die from a heart attack or something. Because they can't handle like those kind of moments of like intense pressure, right? So this is very effective in like entrepreneurship. Like one has to have like that mental strength, emotional intelligence, things like this, just to even survive, really. and then let alone be creative, you know, like these are like very, you know, but the dope thing about creatives though is that, and you know, artists or however you want to call it is, we're in this moment, and really to me, like the whole objective of being an artist is to capture what we see, how we feel, what we do, how we, you know, how we view the world, these things, with very less, you know, opinion towards it. You know what I mean? Like you just kind of, you're documenting the world as it is right now, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
exactly.
You know, these things are very important as artists. And a lot of times that does not, you know, those things that I mentioned doesn't require you to be, you know, stable. You know, like, hey, look, man, if you going through it, then okay, now you have something that you can create off of, you know, and that's just how it is.
Yeah. I agree, man. Like, yeah, I agree. I think kind of like summing that up, it reminds me of something that I'm working on personally in my own life, which is learning how to respond versus reacting to things. You know, like there was a point in time where, you know, I like to call myself like a very patient person.
Okay.
For the most part, you know, it's like, but I'm like, you know, like one of those people who are just like, you know, I have a high tolerance, but like once I get upset, there's no bringing me back type of thing.
Yeah.
You know, and at a point in time, my tolerance wasn't always as high as it is now. So I would react to certain situations, or, you know, like I'd have a conversation with my grandparents, something they would say would spark me, I would react.
Right.
Or a conversation with my brother or my sister, they would do something wrong or do something that I didn't agree with, and I would react.
Yeah.
Or I would get frustrated just with my current situation, whatever it was at the time, and I would just react. And every time I did that, 100% without fail, never got the response or never got the outcome that I wanted. So I had to learn how to respond. I had to learn how to take a deep breath, take a step back, zoom out, and respond and go, okay, this is what's happening, you know, respond. You know, I kind of like an analogy, I would almost be like if you're a quarterback and you're at the line of scrimmage, and all the linebackers is up at the line and they're looking like they're going to blitz, you're looking like you're going to blitz. And instead of, you know, kind of like freaking out about it, just taking a step back, looking, you know, you're doing that. Call the audible, run the play.
Yeah.
You know, like that's kind of how I'm trying to do that in my personal life, you know. So what you just said about like, you know, being in the tornado and not being able to like really keep yourself together really resonates with me.
Word. That's deep. Yeah. Hey, that's what it is, man. Well, let me ask you this then, because you said something that was really interesting, what you had just mentioned. Growing up, were you more of the introvert type, or were you more of an extrovert? Like, how was it for you as a child?
Growing up, man, like I've always been an extrovert.
Okay.
Honestly, like I've my entire life I've been a people person. Like even like my grandparents, like back when I was like 8, 9 years old, they swore I was going to be a preacher. they swore up and down. They said, like, you want to be a preacher one day. I was like, no, I'm not. I'm going to be a football player.
Yeah.
That didn't work out either. But, you know, like I always been, you know, I always been like a people person. And I think that might have something to do with just like how I grew up. You know, I was raised by my grandparents. You know, my mom had, you know, her demons and her struggles with drugs, and she passed away 9 years ago.
Oh wow, condolences.
Over that, you know, that's all right. And you know, my father, he's been in and out of jail. He spent more time in jail than he's been free.
Right.
You know, so I think subconsciously, maybe as I'm just thinking on the fly about this, I've always been like super close to my friends, like around me, because I've always wanted, I think, a connection,
Yeah.
or I've always wanted to, kind of have that bond that I probably, that I lacked growing up.
Yeah.
And so I just naturally, it's just naturally in me to want that connection, and I just bond, and fairly easy. So I can talk to pretty much anyone. I could strike up a conversation with somebody at the bus stop,
Yeah.
or at the bus station anywhere, or like anything.
Yeah.
So I've always been an extrovert, kind of like a people person, and there's pros and cons to that. There's definitely pros and cons to that.
What's some of the
Like
cons? Because a lot of people talk. Yeah.
I was like, my wife would tell me like, you're too trusting of people. I'm like, me and her are opposite in that way. It's like she'll make you earn that trust.
Right.
I'll give you the trust until you show me I can't trust you.
Yeah.
So having that connection and wanting that connection honestly got me hurt a lot, mainly from family at the end of the day. Really, because, I would want to be with my mom when I was growing up, and she would come into my life, she would leave, and she would come into my life and she would leave. And that it would hurt me.
Yeah.
And same thing with my dad, same types of issues with my brother and my sister and stuff like that. So I had to like play defense. So I kind of like inadvertently have this, I'll call it a flaw in me now, where I can just turn off the light switch on somebody. Like if you do a certain thing to me, or you get me to a certain point, I could have known you for years. I could have been super cool with you. I could walk past you like I never knew you.
Wow.
And I think me being that open, made me vulnerable to a lot of hurt.
Yeah.
And then made me build this wall or defense mechanism of being able to say, man, like I gotta turn the light switch off on them. But it's not because I don't care. It's just realizing that they don't care.
That's what you're saying.
So it's like, it's not because I don't love these people or I don't care about these people, but the way they move, if I don't make that separation, it's gonna damage me too bad, and I can't really deal with more pain in that space.
That's what you're saying. So it's more of a, you're following your, it's like a gut feeling, I guess you could say, where like, okay, I can see this is really going nowhere. Let me go ahead and discontinue this subscription with this individual kind of thing.
Yeah, like if it's just like, like, yo, you want to be around me. Like there's certain types of, I'm now, I think over like the last 2 years or so, like I'm much more aware of like energy and much more aware of like people's vibes and trying to keep the right type of people around me.
Yeah.
So if you come into my space, one, I have to realize like not everyone deserves the type of energy you got.
Right.
And two, there are people that could wreck your whole energy if you don't check that.
Yeah, facts.
And so like I got a lot of stuff that it is I want to do. There's a lot of things that I want to accomplish, and I can't really deal with those distractions. I got to put the blinders on, and sometimes I just got to, fade them to black so I can get to where I need to go.
Right.
Not everybody can come.
Yeah, that's facts, man. Yeah, man. So check, man. I just realized, this is going to be for the IG Stranger of the Week. You're going to be the first person that I asked this question, because I was taking note. I was taking note at the previous episodes. I was like, wait a minute, I never asked these people like this question, and now I'm like, okay, I need to make sure I incorporate this in the episode. So, we about to make history. Gonna be the first IG Stranger of the Week who I asked this question to. But
I like that.
Yeah, so and I ask like my guests, from Sunday, I normally ask them this, but If you had word that you only had 365 days left on this planet, how would you use the remaining time? Like, how would your life look like after hearing that news?
If I only had a year.
Yeah.
If I only had a year. The first thing I would do is make amends. I would make amends with anybody that I feel I've wronged, or I would try to close that break in some type of way.
Right.
That would probably be like one of the first things that I would do. The second thing that I would do is start booking some travel.
Yeah.
start booking some travel. There's a lot of places in the world I haven't seen. I would spend more time with my grandparents and my wife, my family. That connection, like something I've always been taught is, the quality of your life is dependent on the quality of your relationships in your life. So if I only got a year left, if I only got 365 left, I need to make sure that the relationships that I have are 100% solid. And I also would definitely quit this job, travel, do photography every single day. Is definitely what I would do. So off the top of my head, that's kind of what I would think. I would do. Make amends, spend more time with family, travel, follow my passions a little bit more.
Word. I like that.
A lot more.
I like that, bro. For sure, man. Look, man. There you go. Well, you made history by answering that question. You're the first person to ask that question.
Everybody else needs to start thinking about that now.
Yeah. Y'all be on the lookout. Right? Nah, bro. Well, look, man. If you, I'm gonna give the mic to you, bro. If you want to let the people know where they can reach you at again. If you have any, anything else that you want them to know about you as far as what you're doing in the future, or any words of advice or whatever, inspiration, I'm gonna give you the mic, man, and allow you to promote yourself, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, my name is Ron Stevens. You can find me on Instagram at Shedlight Visuals. Check out the page. Definitely check out my wife's page as well. She's at Da Silva Spoon, DASILVA Spoon. I would say I just want to talk a little bit about kind of like why I came up with the name Shedlight Visuals. I think the general mission statement of what it is I want to do with this company is to simply bring light and highlight different people, different topics, different subjects that I feel are in the dark, and light needs to be shed on these different people, topics, cultures, situations, circumstances. So I think for me, coming up in the next year in 2020, and probably starting like tomorrow, I'm going to make sure that the work that I'm doing in photography is for sure telling a story. It's connecting, people to experiences, and hopefully evoking some type of emotion and motivation to help make just a little bit of change. So I would say, that's where you can find me. That's what I'm going to be doing in 2020. And definitely be appreciative of what you have. Stay humble, grind. And at the end of the day, you can do whatever you want. You write your own story.
That's what's up, man. Yo, Ron, man, I appreciate those words, bro. Man, I'm glad we got a chance to finally have this conversation.
Me too, man.
Hey, bro. Your story is amazing, bro. And like I said, man, I feel like you're just not writing it, man. Like you're in a whole different chapter. And I just want to wish you the best on your chapters to come and your current chapter as well, man. But your work is amazing, and yeah, bro. I look forward to getting more updates from you, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for sharing your platform with me. I really, really appreciate it. I'm a huge fan of what you're doing. So definitely you keep doing what you're doing. And then who knows? Maybe one day we'll meet up, we'll shoot, we'll work together.
Oh yeah, hey, when I'm in Philly, I will definitely hit you up, man. 'Cause that's one of my favorite cities, man. So I'm an Eagles fan. So.
Oh, you an Eagles fan?
Yeah.
You feeling my pain right now?
I'm feeling. Hey, bro. I stopped watching the Eagles games because I was like, man, I feel like I'm either jinxing them or something, man. We gonna wait till the playoffs.
Well, whatever you did last night, it worked. Finally got one.
I know, right? Yeah, they be happy nervous, bro. So we gonna wait till the playoffs, man.
All right, man. When you get out here, let me know. We'll go to Del Sandro's, get a cheesesteak.
Most def. Hey, that's what I'm talking about, man. All right, Rob. But yo, man, you enjoy the rest of your evening, bro. And like I said, man, we'll stay in touch, man.
You too, man. Appreciate you.
All right, peace. Okay, y'all, don't forget to tune in every Wednesday for the IG Stranger of the Week, where I'll be interviewing a random stranger from my IG feed. And hey, look, if you would like to be featured on the podcast, or if you would like for me to be featured on your podcast, you can always send me an email at the everydaystrangerpodcast@gmail.com, or you can contact me on Instagram, DM me at Everyday Strangers. Again, that's at Everyday Strangers. And I look forward to hearing from you, okay? All right, y'all, don't forget, tune in every Wednesday, also every Sunday, where I'll be releasing an episode every week, all right? I hope everyone enjoys the rest of your week. This is Alonzo Williams from the Everyday Stranger Podcast, signing out. Peace.